I was 51 when I first considered self-employment, not because life was easy, but because I'd had enough. I'd just lost both of my parents within 16 months of each other, and in a career where work had always come first, I had also buried the grief of a miscarriage, battled the pain of career-stopping arthritis, and unknown to me at the time, ADHD. I was scared and full of doubt, even with 30 years plus experience behind me in executive search and HR. At first, I was frozen by these feelings, but unexpectedly, they also became my teachers. They uncovered a depth of bravery, courage, resilience, and creativity I didn't know I possessed. And that's how I became the best version of me. And now I help others with career transition and transformation to discover their own unlikely teachers, supporting them through unsettling times where no matter how bleak or exciting life seems, there are so many possibilities. This is the story I want to share with you today, how I got here and how you can too. I remember how it felt to shut my front door and walk to the station away from my still grieving mum, who was now living with me. It was so painful. She had lived with bipolar all her life, and my dad had been constantly by her side. So, for the first time in my 50s, I considered working for myself. I still have the journal with Make Dreams Happen on the cover, where I first wrote Human Decisions as the name of my business. Then, 9 months after losing my dad, I held my mum in my arms as she collapsed on the bathroom floor, only to find out that she had a terminal lung condition. My already fragile world shattered, and I ended up resigning. I couldn't focus or concentrate on anything other than caring for my mum, who a few months later passed away peacefully with me by her side as the bright autumn sunlight streamed through the window. I had no job, a blank sheet of paper in front of me, and a company name, that was all. Career coaching had always been part of my work, and this was my starting point. Yes, I was scared and had doubts, but I loved the formal training, which I knew would back up my extensive experience within executive search. I can still remember meeting my first paid client in a small rented office around the corner from a Liverpool Street station. Dark evenings, rain at the windows, and the small coffee table between us. I knew this was what I wanted to do. But the experience of my first practice client still haunted me. The surface issues were career related, but there were also old issues and emotional scars from her work environment and a complex personal situation. It was messy and complicated, and it just felt wrong to ring fence one particular area of her life as my training and ethics required me to do. That had never felt right, and I knew I wanted to work in a more holistic and human way. All my life, my mum had struggled with her mental health, and I know that most of the world saw her smart dress sense, red lipstick, and endearing chatter. But behind closed doors, I witnessed the self-doubt, insecurities, and anxiety, sometimes crippling. I also understand, after interviewing hundreds of individuals, that it is the story they tell themselves that gets in the way, not their lack of expertise or experience. I then found the unique MSc in integrative counselling and coaching that enabled me to also become a registered BACP therapist. The world of work has changed beyond recognition in my lifetime, and not always for the better. I consistently work with leaders who have been wounded and damaged by toxic cultures and poor leadership, often caught up in the myth of busyness, despite research showing that taking time out, rest and slowing down leads to increased productivity and resilience. There is an overwhelm of information about careers, work life, well-being and self-care, but having information on its own isn't enough. I have dealt with a career break due to arthritis at a young age, a miscarriage, navigating anxiety in the menopause, and most recently a diagnosis of inattentive ADHD. And even as a trained therapist, I've needed support. I had an amazing therapist who helped me in the dark days when my mum was ill and passed away, but they could not support me when I needed to talk about my career decisions, yet the two were inextricably linked. Real lives don't fit neatly into traditional coaching or therapy experience, especially in midlife when career and life are intertwined, messy, and complex. When it is difficult to consider a future you cannot imagine beyond your current situation. I now want to smash the stereotyping of midlife and show that renewal is possible. I know, I've lived it.